Hi everyone, I'm Doc Ken and welcome to Introduction to Biology, Chapter 1. So first, let's talk about what biology is. Biological science is also known as biology. Biology is a natural science that studies life and living organisms that deals with logic, nature, method, and the basic concepts and principles of living organisms, including their physical structure, chemical processes, molecular interactions, physiological mechanisms, development, and evolution. So first, before we understand what is biology, we have to understand first science and its branches. First, let's define what is science. Science is a systematic body of knowledge based on careful observation and experimentation. Systematic means process. When we talk about process, it refers to step-by-step procedure. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. You cannot proceed to Step 3 without undergoing Steps 1 and 2, and that is a process. A good example of this is a pen. When using a pen for writing, it is systematic. It has process. When writing letter L, we have to write vertical line to be followed by horizontal line at the end portion below of the vertical line. It has process, yes. Do we observe it using our senses, which pertains to observation, such as sense of sight? Yes. Do we have experimentation or actual application? Yes. If it is useful in our daily lives, it becomes proven knowledge. Pen is used for writing for us to be able to communicate. Then if it becomes useful in our daily lives, it becomes proven knowledge. Therefore, it is a science. Another example is a chair. When using chair, it has a process. You have to sit first, and second, you have to lean back for us to be able to be seated properly and to be relaxed. Do we observe it? Yes. Do we have actual application? Yes. When it becomes useful in our daily lives, it becomes science. Science has two major branches. What are those? Social science and natural science. Social science refers to the study of people, culture, and society. It's more on social studies. You study people in the community, the culture of people in the society. While natural science, it refers in seeking the natural world. Why there's a tree, water, land, air. It's all about curiosity and discovery in the natural world. Natural science has two major branches. We have pure science and applied science. When we talk about pure science, it pertains to pursuing knowledge only. You study biology, chemistry, physics, and earth science for knowledge only. That's it. You study blood circulation for you to be able to know the process of oxygenation. That's it. For knowledge only. While applied science, you gain knowledge to solve a particular problem. A good example of this is a research. You discovered something to solve a problem. You find a solution or strategy for a better result. Another example is calculator. We are having difficulty in calculating things in the past that scientists invented something for us to compute it easily. We discovered calculator for easy computation. Pure science has two major branches. We have biological science and physical science. Biological science, which pertains to living things, while physical science refers to the study of non-living things or physical quantities. Biological science has two main traditional branches. What are those? Botany, which is the study of plants, and zoology, that deals with the study of animals. When we talk about physical science, it has three major branches. What are those? Chemistry, physics, and earth science. When we talk about chemistry, it is the study of the properties, compositions, and structures of a matter. When we talk about physics, it is the study of interaction between matter and energy. And lastly, earth science, which refers to the study of planet Earth, which includes geology, hydrology, meteorology, and astronomy. Question: how do living things differ from non-living things? So this can be answered by comparing and contrasting living things to non-living things. Just remember the acronym FORM-GRIM. F stands for form and size, O stands for organization, M stands for movement, G stands for growth and life cycle, R stands for reproductive, I stands for irritability, and lastly, M stands for metabolism. First, form and size. Living things have characteristic form and size within certain limit. Most of them are also arranged as definite individuals, while in non-living things, materials vary widely. Organization. Living things are made up of cells which are assembled into interrelated systems for performing the life processes. They rearrange and combine the chemical elements for their need. Non-living things, on the other hand, cannot be recombined materials and their structure depends on chemical present and mode of formation. Next, we have movement. Living can move by themselves, while non-living things can move with the help of an external force. Fourth, growth and life cycle. Living things exhibit internal growth, while non-living things exhibit external growth. Living things grow by the development of new parts between or within older ones and may replace parts during life. Each individual has a definite life cycle: birth, growth, maturity, lifespan, and death. If non-living things grow, they do that by external addition and there is no orderly cycle of change. Example: the salt in the container and the ice in the freezer increase in size because only of the addition of new materials on their surface. Next, reproduction. This is defined as the ability of the organism to create another one of the same kind. Living things reproduce by using the materials within their bodies, a characteristics which non-living things do not have. Next, irritability. Living things react to changes in the environment. This act as stimuli that induce responses by the organism. The degree of response is often disproportionate to that of the stimulus and the organism is not permanently altered by the stimulus. In non-living things, there is a definite quantitative relationship between the intensity of the environment change and the reaction produced as in the expansion of metal heat. Lastly, metabolism. The word metabolism is defined as various vital life processes, which includes all the changes that the material taken as food undergoes. There are two phases of metabolism, namely anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism is called as the constructive or building up phase. A good example of this is the photosynthesis in plants. Catabolism is the destructive or breaking down phase. This involves the release of energy by breaking food substances through respiration. Let's now proceed to the characteristics of living things. 1. Metabolism. 2. Responsiveness. 3. Growth and development. 4. Evolution. 5. Adaptation. 6. Homeostasis. 7. Genetic control. First, let's talk about metabolism. Metabolism is a term that is used to describe all chemical reactions involved in maintaining the living state of the cells and the organisms. Metabolism can be conveniently divided into two categories. One, catabolism, the breakdown of molecules to obtain energy. A good example of this is digestion. And anabolism, the synthesis of all compounds needed by the cells. A good example of this is photosynthesis made by the plants. Next, responsiveness. Responsiveness is a reaction that can be brought about by learned experience, heredity, or adaptation. A response can be an immediate, involuntary action or purposeful behavior. Evolution is a slower but more enduring form of responsiveness. Next, growth and development. Growth is defined as an irreversible, constant increase in the size of an organ or even an individual cell. Put differently, growth is the most fundamental characteristics of living bodies, accompanied by various metabolic processes that take place at the cost of energy. Growth refers to the increase in mass and size of a body, while development is the process where a particular organism not only grows physically but acquires mental and physiological growth as well. Let's now move on to evolution. In biology, evolution is the change in the characteristics of a species over several generations and relies on the process of natural selection. The theory of evolution is based on the idea that all species are related and gradually change over time. Evolution relies on there being genetic variation in a population which affects the physical characteristics of an organism. Some of these characteristics may give the individual an advantage over other individuals, which they can then pass on to their offspring. When the same adaptation evolved independently under similar selection pressures. For example, flying insects, birds, and bats have all evolved the ability to fly, but independently of each other. Adaptation. In biology, the process by which a species becomes fitted to its environment. It is the result of natural selections acting upon heritable variation over several generations. Organisms are adapted to their environments in a great variety of ways, in their structure or in their behavior. Presence of thick stem in cacti plants to have stored water is an example of structural adaptation, while shedding of leaves of plants during summer to lessen the parts to use water is an example of behavioral adaptation. Next, homeostasis. Homeostasis is the ability to maintain stability while adjusting to the conditions that are optimal for survival. If homeostasis is successful, life continues. If unsuccessful, disaster or death ensures. And lastly, genetic control. Genetic control refers to the transmission of genetic materials from generation to generation to preserve the traits of the species. This is also called inheritance or biological inheritance, which is the passing on of traits from parents to their offspring, either through asexual reproduction or sexual reproduction. The offspring cells or organism acquire the genetic information of their parents.